Stop me if you've heard this before. Run it back. Run it back. I know. I will do whatever Chris Jones tells me to do.
Yes, I will.
Especially if there's a beard in my hand. So anyway, if you were at the parade, I hope you had a blast. I was listening to Chris and everybody else, so I got into it. It's a great day to be a Chiefs fan, as our buddy Seth Kaiser generally says. But thanks for being here. This is RGR Football. This is Dan Harms, and I'm Ryan Tracy. And this is what we do on Mondays year round. Unless it's a dang holiday, we're going to be here at 6 o'clock Central to answer your questions. This is your show. You set them up and we'll knock them down. And that's, I think Dan's already got us queued up. You guys rock. So thank you for your patience last night. Dan did a great job on the live stream last night. Kudos to his executive producer, Ms. Avery. We'll probably see her again tonight. It'll be
always.
Great. This is a tough time of year for me because I have a lot of family obligations. We're traveling the states and the regions and even different countries here for our sports programs. So we got a lot going on. But I appreciate you guys. And I'm excited, Dan. I want to start at the top, and then we'll get right into the questions. But I'm excited. I'm happy for Eric Bieniemy, and I'm excited for what I expect is going to be Matt Nagy. I think you agree. I'm excited for what that's going to bring in terms of new twists.
I don't know if we'll bring anything new, but I mean, I'm excited to see something a little bit different because I love Eric Bieniemy. I will always be. I am talking. You can wait until I'm done, okay? And then you can ask me a question. Thank you for saying excuse me. That was polite. I'm really excited for Eric Bieniemy getting the chance to actually show people that he's not just this Andy Reid stooge because, granted, he shouldn't have had to do any of this to begin with because Matt Nagy, Doug Peterson, Brad Childress didn't have to do any of those things. But here we are. And I get that people say it's a lateral move. It's not. He's getting the assistant head coach directive. It's different. He's going to be fully in charge of the offense. Ron Rivera doesn't want to do that. He's like, no. And I think people forget Ron Rivera was an Andy Reid guy, right? Like he worked with Andy Reid.
He worked for Andy Reid. He was a defensive coordinator. Yeah. He is a bite the head off of a bat linebacker from the 85 Bears, people.
So there's some layers there to this whole thing. I'm excited for him. I'm just hopeful that we get to see a little bit I would like to see some different things. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, but I do. Not that this is stale. Like I feel like people will think that I'm thinking this is stale. Winning 2 Super Bowls with Eric Bieniemy, it's not going to get stale. I promise you that much. But I just want to see a little bit something different.
I actually think Matt will bring a creative thing. I think he and Patrick, as good as Patrick's worked with EB, I think he and Matt Nagy have a different kind of relationship. I think it is a little bit more bounce the craziest stuff off the wall and see what comes back kind of relationship. Matt Nagy's the one who's like screaming at Patrick on the sidelines, hey, we scored that touchdown. We weren't even in the right formation, because that's the kind of stuff that they go back and forth with. And I think that comes from having Matt on the staff earlier when he wasn't, previous to his head coaching job, he didn't have like the cloud about him as much. And I think that actually rekindling that I'm excited about, because there was a great piece this week. I mentioned it on Locked On Chiefs. Go download Locked On Chiefs as well. Albert Breer talked to the offensive line about like what the game plan was. And it was punch you in the face. We're going to run power. We're going to make our presence felt, very physical up front. That's something that I think Matt Nagy's actually pretty creative with in the run game. So I'm hoping that there's some new wrinkles there, and that feeds off of everything that we've seen set up. So I'm pretty pumped. So that said, we'll get to that as it all unfurls. I know we have Combine coming. We have free agency coming, you guys. We're covering it all over on NFL 33. I'm going to have my QB list coming very, very soon. My top 5 list, and then we're all working on our rankings. We got some new guys working with us as we go through all of the Rogue Analytics for the athleticism, and we go through NFL 33 for all the rankings. We're going to release everything there. You'll be able to download our draft boards, all of it over at NFL 33. You just got to go get subscribed. You can do it for free, and you'll get the basics. You can join as a paying member and get all the inside info. And I'm going to tell you the truth of what the national draft media heads are telling you that are either lies or they just haven't done their work yet. We'll get to that. If you want to support the channel, grab some of the gear. Dan's got a lid on. I've got my favorite one on. And you can always super chat us. I guarantee you super chats get an answer tonight, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Dan's already lit us up with a number of questions. So you super chatters, we're going to get to you in a minute. But Lee starts us off. Lee is a member, and I appreciate that, Lee. Thank you for your continued support. What are your thoughts about trading OBJ for someone like Chicago and using their picks to restock offensive tackle? It's an interesting question because Ryan Poles was part of the group that actually worked that deal. And as I understand, as a former offensive lineman, Ryan Poles was pretty intricate in the decision-making process. Do you think that for Poles, knowing that Fields is what he is, and I do believe that it's either you trade Justin Fields or you trade the number one pick.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep Fields, do you like OBJ as a fit for him?
Well, it's all going to come down to how you prepare your quarterback. Because Mahomes is a mobile guy in terms of behind the pocket. He's not the athlete that Justin Fields is. There are very few of them, but he does like to get outside the pocket. It's all about how you think Justin Fields can handle knowing the one weakness that Orlando Brown has is getting beat with speed to the outside. That's it. If you think that you can deal with that, if you think Justin Fields can kind of manage the pocket, step up a little bit more, and manage that and grow that continuity with Orlando Brown, yeah, because I do think at the end of the day, they still want to run the football. They want to be kind of a physical type of team as well. And Orlando Brown does bring that. He's a very good run blocker. He will help establish the run. You guys, I tweeted it out today. The play right before the end of the third quarter where they just bulldoze 10 plus yards. Orlando Brown gets a tiny little help from Noah Gray, but he took Javon Hargrave 7 yards on a ride. A ride.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So I think that it's something they'll probably look into if they can't get something done.
Well, and I'll say this. I just double checked it. Right now, the Bears are number one in cap space. They have $94.4 million available. They know what the franchise tag is going to cost. And right now, folks, because of the situation, Orlando was on the franchise tag. So the only way that the Chiefs retain his rights is to franchise tag him again and then trade him. But he will have to sign the franchise tag first before any trade can be executed. Now, what that generally will entail is that there will be a structure of the next deal in place already. For Ryan Poles, that's probably not much of an issue because he's got the cap space, because he's part of how Orlando Brown got to Kansas City. And he's got to say, okay, maybe Orlando isn't a top 5 tackle, but he's a certified top 15, top 10 if you're squinting a little bit, and he just helped get a championship. I'd rather spend my money on him than take a chance on a developmental tackle, even if he's a top 5 guy, even if he's Paris. Like I think that's a more safe bet for Ryan Poles.
Yeah, I'm with you. They got to get as much young prospects that they are going to develop into this team that they can. And I think that Ryan understands that, and trading away capital to get, he's 27 years old, Orlando Brown is. And yeah, he's what he is. There's no upside there. So you know what you're getting. But with these young guys, and again, trying to trade down possibly and get more prospects and get more throws at the dartboard, as they say, it makes way more sense than to trade for Orlando Brown. But you never really know what ends up happening.
Yeah. And here's the problem is they don't have their own second round pick. So you're not getting pick 32. They have Baltimore's 54 and they have 64. So that's the bigger hurdle in my mind, because they're not going to give up number 1 for Orlando, not number 1 overall.
No.
And 54 ain't enough. So that's kind of where I come. If it's just player for picks, I could go 54 and 64 and be happy. I don't think that'd be smart for Poles to agree to. So could he go 54 and 103? Possibly. I don't know. It seems like it's a hard deal to strike because there is no real second rounder in there. So
yeah, I'm with you.
We'll see. But Lee, I like the concept. And yes, if they were able to do that, I do think that they can get a second round tackle and feel pretty good about it. There's a couple of guys that I like, and we'll go into that as we move forward. And Lee has another one. Have you guys figured out where you will hold the draft broadcast? Not yet. My original plan fell through as somebody with a whole lot deeper pockets came and rented that place. So there went that plan. But hey, we're gonna work something out. Hopefully with a venue that can support a decent group with us without having to have like a $20,000 deposit. Because who knows? It's gonna be fun either way, though, Lee. And we will let you know the progression. Christo, thank you. I see a lot of tagging Brown. Is that the best option? He's not the best, but he's done good, not great. Should we play with fire by tagging him? Where do you see this going, Dan? What would you do?
So I think I would use the non-exclusive tag. You guys have seen it talks with Lamar Jackson right now. That would give him freedom to also communicate and work out deals with other teams. But also, if he does end up signing elsewhere, you get draft capital. I don't know what it is for tackles or if it's the same across the board, the draft capital back. So that's something I would have to look into. But you are getting capital back regardless. And I would imagine it would be a first plus, if not, at least a first-round pick we're talking about to acquire Orlando Brown. Ideally, I think that's what you want to do because then you have a plan going through to the draft. It was brought up actually in the Discord by Mike. So I appreciate Mike for asking me about that for Orlando Brown in the Discord chat. So yeah, I think this makes the most sense for the Chiefs going forward because if you don't get that long-term deal done, you can say, all right, we have a year. We know we're going to pay you top-end market terms of 1 year, like $21 million a year, which is still less than what he wanted to get paid last year. And then you can draft your left tackle of the future and say, all right, be done with it after this year.
Yeah. I think it's just the safest way to go. There is a concept too that you can put a tag on a player, and if he's just not happy about it, he doesn't sign it, right?
Yeah.
You linger for a bit. If you decide to go another way, you can rescind that tag at any time if it's unsigned.
Yep.
So the power in the franchise tag is definitely more on the franchise's side than the player's side. So I don't really see it as play by fire at all, Christo. So let's see what Veach thinks, but I expect it to happen. Gary, Ryan, do you think that signing Keenan Allen is good with all his injuries? No. Keenan Allen's been overrated for the last 4 seasons, and I've been telling you guys this until I'm blue in the face. I know you guys listen. The rest of the league still thinks he's like 2018 Keenan Allen. He ain't. I'm not putting him in on here. I will not do it, especially if you want JuJu back. And we know JuJu's had his challenges. JuJu, by the way, went out of his way to credit the training staff of the Chiefs organization, not just Rick Burkholder, but the whole staff. And the thing that caught my eye, it's great to praise your athletic trainers because you need them, right? It's another thing to go to the step that he said that when he walked off the field at the AFC Championship, he didn't think he'd be able to play in the Super Bowl. That's significant to me.
Not just play, but he was a significant role player in the fourth quarter. The dude was catching everything. Yeah. So that's impressive. I know there's going to be a question a little bit later on the staff. We'll actually just get to it right now since we're on the topic. Cool. So I'll go ahead and find it here.
But Gary, with that, I would never sign Keenan Allen because he's going to miss time. JuJu's going to miss time. I don't think JuJu's ever going to be a 17 a game regular season guy.
I appreciate that, Gary. But here's the super chat we have about Rick Burkholder of real MVPs. Thank you, Firefighter. In my opinion, Rick Burkholder and his team are the real MVPs. Is there any chance some team could offer him more money and steal him? That would be a tragedy. Absolutely not. This is the same thing as Philadelphia's Stoutland, their offensive line coach. He has been offered multiple times more money to go somewhere else. He ain't leaving. Like you guys remember Wolf of Wall Street, where Leo DiCaprio's up there. I ain't leaving. He is not going anywhere. Rick Burkholder will never be anywhere else instead of Kansas City. So thanks for that, Firefighter.
Now, I don't know if you all are Boondock Saints fans. It's an old movie about Boston, right?
It's a great movie.
And there's a line from that movie, the initial detective who thinks he knows everything. He's like, where are you going? Nowhere. Because he's never leaving this organization. Now, that said, I will say there are some younger folks that work for Rick Burkholder that you could see go somewhere. And I'm trying to remember the one person's name that sticks out to me the most. So stand by with me just a minute and I will have that name, because this is, when it comes to athletic training, team doctors don't move around much. They usually have their own private practices in whatever town that they live in. They're pretty attached to the organization. Athletic trainers are much like coaches. You can move up the ranks only so far. No one's ever going to be the vice president of athletic training and performance except Rick Burkholder until Rick Burkholder decides to retire. That's just the way it's going to be. So in order to have some kind of opportunity, you have to go move around. And so I believe it's Evan Kraft is a guy that's been with him for a long while. People have made offers to him before. And I think if it comes to that point, you could see a new organization. The question becomes, is it a GM that makes that call? Usually, in my experience, it's the head coaches that want a change in athletic trainer or team doc or whatever. There could be a team that's like, hey, we need to get somebody that, has a ring, that knows how to get through not only 17, but 20 games in a season. Yeah. So I do think you could lose part of it. Firefighter, appreciate you, buddy. Where are we going now, Dan?
Back up.
Jeremy here. Do you perceive any of the top 5 edges you have listed on NFL 33 falling to pick 31? I think it's possible. I don't know how likely. I think there's a fear factor that comes in here, Dan.
Mhm.
And you tell me if you think I'm right. Right now, national draft media is talking up Tyree, to oblivion. He's not a top 5 pick. You and I have understood that since, I don't know, midway through the college season.
It was like midway through November. I remember both talking about it before a stream. We're like, why is this guy getting so much buzz? It's November.
He's a beast. He is Tano Passanio's body with the skill set and possibility of upside of JPP, in my opinion. But he's so raw, and it's so much of a projection. I don't think a team's actually going to take a roll on him in the top 5. I think that right now that's just bluster. I think it will fall back from there. And I think he's the domino. If he falls to 10, I think that pushes everybody else down a little bit. If he falls to 15, I think the Chiefs are in striking distance. But I will say this too. I personally feel like they're not picking at 31. They're going to move up somewhere between 24 and 19.
We'll get there. There's some questions. There's some questions here about trading up, so I'm sure we'll get there.
See, this is why it works so well. What are your thoughts on the backup quarterback position?
So we've kind of gone over it already over the past week, but I'll just lay it out for you. I do think that it's going to be Shane Buechele, but they're going to bring in a veteran to compete. I don't see them saying we're completely comfortable with him being the guy. We would like to see a veteran come in and compete and see if Buechele can hold his own. Because if he can't, then you have to let him go. If he can't beat out a veteran, it's over. No more. He's done. They're going to have to draft a backup. Period. In my opinion.
I just on a personal note, I don't care whether it's the day job at corporate development or whatever you're working. If you have the opportunity to ride off into the sunset like Chad Henne did,
exactly,
like there's nothing better than that. I am jealous beyond all contempt right now because that's just picture perfect. Terry, who is the free agent you want here in KC outside of the team? I haven't gone through everybody yet because I've been trying to live in the moment and enjoy this championship. But one guy who's been on my mind for the last, 6 or 8 weeks, because I just don't know what's going to happen to him in New England. I think Andrew Wiley's going to get a contract elsewhere. I know Beach had said that they're going to go and try to keep them both. I don't know if that's feasible. The guy that I think hasn't hit his upside yet that I still have faith in is Isaiah Wynn. And I don't mind him on the right. I really don't need to have him on the left, but I think he could probably do it in the Reed system. In the Heck system. But I'm willing to take a bet on that as long as the medicals look good. I can't get a feel whether he's actually healthy or not, Dan. Do you like that or dislike it, or do you have a take?
I don't really have a take right now. I haven't watched a ton about that. Isaiah Wynn's been a good player, but again, at this stage, I don't know exactly how old he is either, so I can't comment on that without looking it up. But I'll do that while I'm talking because I can do multiple things at once. See,
this is why you're better than me.
So
when you're a dad of young kids, you do this. When you're a dad of teenagers, you get lazy.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is age. We already have one guy who's going to be getting older. Joe Thuney, and that's not to say he hasn't been good because he's been phenomenal. And I do think that does help. You've got a guy here. What is he? 5 years in, Isaiah Wynn, 6'2". He's got just under 34-inch arms. He's 27 as well. So we're talking about Orlando Brown if he's in Kansas City. If Isaiah Wynn, 27. I don't know if they want to get older at that position. 27 is not old by any stretch, but. Right. And also, like I said, the injuries, medicals have to clear that whole thing. I'm more partial to trying talk about injuries. A guy who's been in Kansas City and that we hope will get some chance to play in Lucas Dieng. I'm holding out hope for him, but it's not always lost. We'll end up seeing if they feel desperately that they need to add somebody at right tackle, because right now I'm more confident that Wiley's not going to go elsewhere to get like a bag thrown at him. But I can't predict an NFL trade, a free agent market. You can't predict it. That's what I think, but you never know.
Yeah. I will just put it this way. And my dad's been telling me this since I was a little kid. When you grow up a Navy brat, you hear this fairly often. At the end of the day, 2 is 1. You have to have a backup for everything. One is
Absolutely.
none. So I do think that they have to proceed as though they're not going to have Wiley back, and maybe it still happens. They have to proceed as though they're going to get something done for Orlando, or he's going to be comfortable, and they have to be prepared if that doesn't happen, one way or the other. And maybe Lucas is that backup plan. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying you have to be confident in that backup plan.
I will say that another New England Patriot free agent that I wanted in Kansas City is Jacoby Myers.
I knew you were going to go there.
Jacoby Myers would look so good in Kansas City. I'll just say that, guys.
I mean, I have to agree with you. My guy Zappy, and he started to connect really quickly. And I think that's because of the fact Zappy is a rookie who everyone counted out. Like, he needed to put his faith in somebody. They need to develop chemistry kind of quick. And so I feel like that faith spurred what we saw in Myers, in what I think was a surge for him. Just imagine what QB1 throwing you those kind of passes does. You
and a guy who gets open quick.
Yeah.
Can zone a man. He's open.
I like it. And honestly, the rest of the list is kind of for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of injury in there.
Class. Michael, everyone's like, I know there's some people in here about Michael Thomas. I'll tell you right now, guys. Michael Thomas, probably not happening.
2019, Michael Thomas would be great. The way he functions now, I'm not so sure.
30-year-old Michael Thomas who hasn't played in 2 years, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Steve, thank you, sir. Another member question. Appreciate you. What safety in this year's class has similar draft characteristics to Juan Thornhill? Honestly, it's kind of my guy Skinner.
Okay.
Who might have the smallest calves of any professional player I've ever seen.
I'm almost positive if he turns sideways, you might not see them. The dude is very, very slim down below. We saw him in Mobile. It's not great.
He's high-waisted. He's a little hesitant off the go from playing deep because he was asked to play in the box a lot. But he brings the wood in the box for a guy that's kind of on the skinny side. And I think he has the ability to grow into that upside to do what Juan does. Now, the question becomes, do they have to do that? Do they want Brian Cook to go back there? Because they played Brian at the back more than I thought they were going to.
Yeah.
So it's that interchangeability versus do you want a true center fielder? And that's kind of where my question lies. I'll tell you what, if you want a nickel slash safety, an underneath guy that's a cover guy, not a box safety, one of the guys that is underrated, in my opinion, that I really love that not everybody does is Chris Smith from Georgia, because he just makes plays. He's kind of pint-sized, but he just makes plays. And I love that. And I think he's going to be, he might squeak in the top 100, but he might be an early day 3 guy. And I love that all day long.
Yeah, I love Brian Branch. I think Brian Branch can do a lot of the same things that he can do, but we're talking about a first-round player.
Brian Branch makes L'Jarius Sneed an outside corner, and we roll.
But he also plays, safety. Like, we're talking, this dude can play safety slot, and he's a freight train coming downhill. Yeah. A freight train. Yeah. So Spags would have so much fun with a guy like Brian Branch, but you're talking about having to spend pick 31 on a safety.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he'll have that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. He could go higher
on him. Yeah. Are there any realistic impact trade targets out there? I mean, right now, this time of year, things are kind of quiet. We'll start hearing rumblings here as the new league year starts. And then, obviously, free agency is going to be free agency. We'll start hearing about, hey, if you didn't get your free agent, I might let this guy go. Most of it's smoke and never fire, but you never know. I don't have anything off the top of my head, except for maybe I heard a little rumor that Taylor Lewan said they were going to cut him, and they said, screw you, we're not. We're going to get a trade for you. I don't know if maybe often injured isn't the right word for him. Yeah. He's been injured more than I like, but Lewan might be a short-term answer at tackle as well.
It's possible. Again, injury guy, his second season-ending injury in 2 years. It's tough to bring him in and say short-term answer. But when Taylor Lewan was playing, Taylor Lewan was a dude. If you can reasonably assume, again, the medicals check out that he can play, okay, we're cooking with some gas, because I think that he would be a good addition, not just in the run game, but he's a much better athlete at the tackle position than the Chiefs have, at least at left tackle. So I think Taylor Lewan makes sense if you could help, say that he's going to be good to play.
All right, this is a great question. Thank you, Adam. A player who falls, do you trade up for? Tell me your guy.
Oh man, there's the trade up stuff is tough because there's so many different factors that go into. I think that everyone wants Kansas City to trade up because it's in Kansas City. I think everyone's like, hey, KC's got the draft, so they have to go make a spectacle and go trade up for somebody. You don't always have to do that. Okay. You don't always have to. Sometimes the player will fall into your lap. And I'm very adamant about them not trading up for a wide receiver and taking a wide receiver in the first round. This is not the draft to do so, in my opinion, for the Chiefs.
No.
But again, styles, whatever the Chiefs want. At the end of the day, this is a left tackle or edge trade up situation. That's it. If you get a left tackle, possibly, I don't think it's going to happen because he's my tackle one, your tackle one. Broderick Jones
you're going to go there
too. Yeah. If Broderick Jones starts sliding because of the 1 year starter stuff, he's not as polished as some people want him to be.
Mm-hmm.
You go and if he starts creeping around 15, that's as soon as I would start to look at trading up for that guy. I'm telling you right now.
I'm going to tell you, I think it's Green Bay at 16 that we have to watch for.
Yes.
He gets past them, I'm immediately on the phone.
Go.
Because what's cool is what you and I see, and I think Damian Parsons agrees with us too.
He does.
Parsons, sorry. I think what we see is that, yes, he's right up there in the elite three, but he's got way more ceiling than Paris does, and certainly a lot more than Skoronski, who I think is going to end up a guard.
Yeah, I agree.
So I hope that everyone thinks we're crazy and the league leaves him as the third tackle or the fourth tackle and somebody makes the mistake of drafting Juwan Jones before him. I will gladly have that fall to me. Thank you very much. I don't care what
Jones is only a right tackle, in my opinion.
I agree with you completely. Same with Darnell Wright.
So, I like Wright. He's more athletic than Jones, but than DeJuan Jones, but I just don't think he's got the awareness to play left tackle. I don't. I think he'll be a really good right tackle in the league,
and he's not that much more athletic.
He looked way better this year, but again, it was 1 year and he was a senior, so it's tough to translate that into being able to play both left and right.
Pono, why the excitement on Nagy being good as the new OC when he failed as a head coach? Sorry, I don't see it. It's because the two things are adamantly opposed. When you're a head coach, other than Sean Payton and Andy Reid, most of them end up giving up their play calling duties. Mike McCarthy did it. There's been several coaches in the last years. I mean, even Sean McDermott stopped calling his defense because it's just so much overload to manage the personnel, the logistics, all the things you have to do as a head coach. Honestly, it's an easier life as a coordinator than it is a head coach. You have to do all the media. You don't have to do all the other stuff. You're not constantly going over every little detail. As a coordinator, you find out who's available and who's not. You're not checking in with the trainers every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You're not making sure the strength and conditioning sessions went well. Like, there's all kinds of stuff you have to do, like from logistics. This is exactly why I'm scared of the Broncos hiring Rex Ryan, because I still in my nether regions believe that Rex Ryan is an excellent coordinator. He's just a bad head coach. Same thing with Nagy, and maybe Nagy on a second go run. If Josh McDaniels can get a second run as a head coach, Matt Nagy can get a second run as head coach. So.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So we'll see.
I'm sure Dan just typed to me that I have to speed up, so take this one.
All right, Jared, appreciate you. Obviously, Sky Antonio will be on the roster, assuming if MBS gets cut. And what about a guy like A.T. Perry from Wake Forest or Tillman from Tennessee? And what are your thoughts on Trey Palmer? So there's going to be a lot of wide receiver questions in here. I'm going to try to lump as many in here as possible. Guys, don't feel like I'm trying to slight and jump over your questions because there's a lot of time to talk about wide receivers and draft guys. So promise you we will answer most of them, if not all of them, by the time draft gets here.
Absolutely.
MVS, we'll see. Obviously, we will find out at the start of the new year, I would think. I don't know if it'll happen immediately, but we might start seeing some rumblings. A.T. Perry is an interesting conversation because the dude is a slug, but he just finds ways to win. Like, it's very, very weird. He's a very slow off the line player. He's slow build up speed guy, but in his stem work and his stacking ability is really good. And he also has really good hands and can get the ball down the field. It's weird.
The difference for me is he is explosive vertically. Maybe more so than Tillman is.
Speed wise, I don't think so.
I mean vertically
the
off the
leaping
ground.
ability.
Yeah.
So he's like a lesser version of Chris Conley. Okay, but maybe you can talk about it like that, because I mean he's better. He's more nuanced in his routes and his stems than Chris Conley ever was. But he's that vertical player. He's lanky. He's long. I'm partial to Tillman. I think Tillman's a stud. I'm very impressed by what I've seen. I think he's better than Jalen Hyatt. And I know people will not like that, especially in the big draft communities. Lance
They're two different guys, two different styles. Yeah, I don't know what Lance is doing these days.
I don't know.
I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah, I did see Trey Palmer at the Senior Bowl. Wasn't totally impressed with him. Seems like a slot gadget only kind of guy, which is fine. The NFL needs these guys. Right, by the way, if you guys haven't listened to the NFL Draft podcast, I just listened to it last week. They talk about these slot guys and how the stigma around them kind of needs to go away because the NFL needs them more and more and more. So you might want to do that. But yeah, Palmer is going to be a fun day 3 guy, in my opinion, that can make a team more versatile and explosive.
Yeah, and I like him in close contact too. He, like you said, he's not like an X beat that's snot out of Sauce Gardner in man. But I do like him with a guy draped over him. I think he comes up with more plays than I expected, to tell you the truth. And due to my family obligations, thanks to my wife, I watch a lot of Nebraska football. So maybe I'm there. Should the Chiefs draft use pick 31 for BJ Ojulari? BJ's one of my top 5s. The only problem with BJ, I feel he belongs in a 3-4 base. He's still, when he puts his hand in the dirt, I don't like it as much as when he's standing.
Yeah.
Do you see anything that makes you comfortable if he landed in Kansas City?
Because Joe Cullen's here, yeah. That makes me more optimistic with him being in Kansas City. But he would have to have more input on the guys that get drafted. That's the only thing. I've seen people mocking Nolan Smith and BJ Ojulari to Kansas City for the past month. Unless something changes, that's unrealistic and you're setting yourself up for failure. You just are. You're getting your expectations high for something to change, which is not reasonable.
Yeah.
The guys you should be looking at are Keon White, Derek Hall are 2 guys at the end of the first round that scream Kansas City.
Lucas Van Ness, because he's
him
just
too,
a
but
5
he's getting top 20. He's getting top 20 talk.
Yeah. As soon as people watch the film and realize he's really just a 5 tech that needs to reduce rather than go out wide, they'll figure it out.
But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and I like BJ Ojulari. Completely separate from my Chiefs understanding, because it's not the same thing. They're 2 different things. I can like this guy, but he's not a Kansas City player in terms of what they want. They don't want that complement to a pass rusher, the speed complement to a power rusher. They don't want that. They want to collapse the pocket. But we'll see if things change.
I'm glad that you brought up Nolan, because I'm the same way about Nolan. I love his game.
I love it.
He's not power. He's not a power edge. If you line him up wide and let him attack and duck, he'll be fine. But you got to have the horses inside to do that. So again, I don't think he's the Kansas City candidate right now. Thank you, James. And thank you, Reed. The expectation of Bieniemy. Can we expect them? Can we expect the most of the coaching staff to stay together? Spags staying. Spags is staying. Unless Spags gets a head coaching job, I think he'll retire a Chief. Or from the Chiefs, I mean. The rest of the staff, you got to watch. A lot of talk this week about Girardi moving up to quarterback coach. For me, that would be a leap too far, because I think both Greg Lewis and Joe Blameyer are in track for that.
Yeah.
And honestly, whoever becomes the next quarterback coach is just as likely to get an OC position as the OC is to get a head coach position. So ask Mike Kafka. But yeah, I think that's the piece. It's that offensive coordinator that seems to be the leaping point. Quarterback coach next. On the defensive side, you're not getting plucked as much. And that's because they're a middling defense. Yes, they rise through the postseason every year. And kudos for Spags for making that work over and over. As much as I complain about some things, he generally comes around to where he needs to be by the end of the year. But that's why you don't see the defensive staff getting plucked so much. Thank you, Reed.
Yeah, I promise you guys I'll never complain about Steve Spagnuolo early season ever again, ever. I've done it too much, and I proved wrong. I'm proved wrong every time. So I will take my loss. I'll take my L.
What do you think of Cody Mock as a possibility for a day 2 pick for the Chiefs? I think
Mhm.
he'll be there into the 40s. I don't know if he makes it out of the 50s. Unfortunately, guard on my board. I don't see them needing him. I don't think he can survive a tackle.
I disagree to an extent. I think that he can play tackle, but he literally has 5 position versatility. They played him everywhere at Mobile, and I think he did a good job standing up multiple. He got beat from time to time, but again, step up in competition level for him from NDSU to just to Senior Bowl. So there's going to be a little adjustment there. So,
Yeah, he was in my highlights of day one practices.
I told you.
I just, the more I saw, like, as quick as
Sorry.
he is, I think he's going to get hurt by speed rushers in particular. So I just put him in guard, but that's me. Scott, who can we sign or draft to fix middle of the field defense? I mean, the middle of the defense isn't that bad. You're not going to go away from Nick Bolton. Nick's only flaw is playing backwards, but he's getting better. He is now a better coverage linebacker than I ever expected him to get to. So kudos to him because he's been working on it. Is he a true Tampa middle linebacker? It's got to run 20 yards down the middle and be able to turn your head and see? No, he's never going to get there. But he's already about as good as I could have hoped he would be. So they're not going to move away from him. So it's how do you supplement? And it is with the 3 safety sets. It is rotating the coverage. I think they have to get more into one of my favorite sets, which is a double robber configuration. I think they have that in Reed and Cook. And if they get somebody over the top, I think you could do that pretty well. But it is about getting Willie to be more consistent and see what you can get from Chanel. See if you can play 2 linebackers out there and feel comfortable in coverage. That's going to be, I think, the challenge. Okay, I guess you don't disagree.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were leaving that for me. I just wanted
you're
to
good.
just to nod my head and agree with you.
Will we trade up at the first since we have a plethora of picks and not necessarily need a 11 or 12? What do you think, Dan?
This is going to be the same as it was last year, right, in my opinion. Someone that they love is falling, they didn't expect to. Yeah, they're going to go get him because they know what they need to do to make this team last. And they know the guys that they want. And they didn't even expect McDuffie to be there. And they're like, hey, okay, we got to go do this. We got to do this now. So I still keep remembering that whole scenario with the Bills staff, like, oh, no. Oh right. No.
Yeah.
They're trading up. That was
going to happen.
So, yeah, they'll definitely be doing that if someone falls.
Yeah, I expect a minimum of 2 trades of draft picks in this draft.
Absolutely.
Sean Taft, was this rookie class was bonkers. Do you think Veach can do it again? I think he has it in him. I can't guarantee it because, quite frankly, he's hit walk-off grand slams both back-to-back draft classes in 22 and 21. If he just hits a homer, I'll be happy, and that means 3 guys that play significant snaps.
I was about to say, like, he's batting 800 right now in terms of baseball terms. If he's batting 500 by the end of this draft, I mean, what are you going to complain? Are you going to complain too
much? Would stock up depth on D-line and O-line like the Eagles did. Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I'd like to do that. Unfortunately, you have too many that are going to depart, whether it's on the interior, Frank's gun on the defensive side. I think you're going to lose one of the tackles one way or the other on the offensive side. We'll see. You got to take care of the starters first. Does Clark take a pay cut and stay next year? My gut says no.
My gut says yes.
Okay.
I think he wants to. I think he wants to set the all-time sack record in the playoffs. What better way to do that than in Kansas City?
Okay, fine. I'll give you $3 million. You can play 4 games for me. 3 Hawaii KC Chief. Thanks for the chat. Appreciate you. And thanks for the support. I'm glad that you enjoy it. I know this is kind of a hard shift these days as we're going through coaching changes and free agencies coming, and we get onto the draft quicker than most channels. So thanks for bearing with us because we are kind of like 360 here. We don't really take a pause. Maybe we should bask in the glow a little bit more, but we get right to the draft every year like that. Your thoughts on Isaiah McGuire from Mizzou, and would he bring Jarek or Nab Spears from Tulane in the late rounds? Spears won't be there in the late rounds, I'll tell you that. I would definitely bring back Jarek McKinnon, 100%.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping and praying. I am hoping and praying that Lance Erline is right, and Roshan Johnson and Kenny McIntosh are going to make it to day 3. Because I'll do whatever I have to do to get one of those guys in the 5th. If I can have to go to the 4th, I would even consider it even me. Because I think one of those 2 guys with Pacheco and Jarek as the 3, good Lord, we're rolling. And I might get my wish. We might get close to balance.
Maybe. But yeah, I haven't seen McGuire out of Mizzou yet. Have not seen him. I do think that there'll be drafting a running back on day 3. I believe early day 3 is something that they're going to be looking at, because as good as Isaiah Pacheco was this year, they are fully committed to like a 3. They want a 3-back system. That's what they want. They don't want to have Isaiah doing everything he did, McKinnon playing as many snaps as he had to. They wanted to have Clyde as that 3rd guy. He got hurt and things changed. I think that they want a 3 running back system.
Hey, welcome everybody. If you're not one of our subs, make sure you hit the subscription button right now. Click that thumbs up for this video if you would, because we go through all your questions on Monday nights. And later in the week, I'm going to talk with Mike Burton, the Chiefs fullback, again. You'll see that. I'm not sure exactly when I'll release it, but we're going to get together this week, so I'll have a lot of questions for him. I hope you guys will be back for that. Make sure you check out the RGR store and sign up for the memberships. If you want to get inside on the Discord that all the guys are running, including Aaron and FLDB, you can get into that as well. Over on NFL 33 is where our draft rankings are coming out. It is behind the paywall because it's draft season, and that's what we do. You got to make sure that you're getting the effort, but I guarantee you're going to get my draft board for free, just like every other year. But if you'd like to support us on there, it's NFL33.com. And now that the boss is here, we can say that I think all 3 of us believe JuJu should come back.
Absolutely. I think he should be back. We'll see what kind of money he gets, though. Sorry, we're trying to open a little snack for her right now. She's hungry,
nice.
So apologies for the noise. But I think he wants to be back. I don't really know, because he's playing the part really well, saying all the right things, talking to the media properly. So we'll see. But there is probably a greater than 30% chance he's not in Kansas City next year.
Yeah, it is a significant risk, and I'll give him credit. He didn't, that I saw at least, he didn't even take the bait on TikTok boy. So good for him. I mean, hey, could have been a lot worse, right? What's the highest the Chiefs trade up for? We talked about going up to 17 for me, 15 for Dan. I think that's about the limit. I don't think they'd give up enough to go higher than that, because I think that they scout well enough that they realize they have multiple options beyond that, maybe aren't as good, but that fit. Mike, all in on Brock Bowers in 24. Do we trade up? I mean, here's the problem. Travis is getting older. I don't know how they feel about Jody. I thought Jody would have had more opportunity this year overall.
Yeah.
The injury thing is a problem. This is the best tight end class we've seen in probably 7 or 8 years. So meaning that you don't have to spend a top 50 pick on a tight end to get a good one. You can get somebody that can help you as a 2 for now in the 3rd round, in the 4th round possibly. And so maybe that precludes you. But I'll say that doesn't knock them out of Bowers next year. I think Bowers is going to be a top 10 pick is going to be the problem. So it's going to be about value, because unless something drastic happens, Bowers is the man.
And you're not going to be able to get him. So,
and FLDB kindly put the stuff in the Discord as well. That's where you can get it through the memberships. You just got to join the memberships. There's a button under Dan that says join. Just join at the rookie level above, and you get free access to the Discord. There's a lounge over there at the Discord that you can get like the feel of it. You guys just want to check it out, and that's over at bit.ly/Rogue Nation. Now, let's see. New Punk, thanks for the support, buddy. Am I wrong? But I didn't seem like EB and Mahomes were kind of off. Did it seem? Could he have really left if their relationship went bad at some point? I mean, let's be real. Eric Bieniemy's like my pissed off granddad, right? Like he's going to call you out unless he's perfectly happy. And so I don't think that's ever going to happen because of the nature of the relationship. I don't think that they were like upset at each other or not getting along. I do think that they held each other accountable and they're both really competitive. But yeah, I think this was Eric's lone chance. If Eric doesn't get out and forge his own system, he's never going to get a head coaching job.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Okay. Thanks, New Punk. Would you go after OSU wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba, or tackle, or D end? Kirk, great question. I will say this. If JSN falls to 31, it sends off alarm bells on the medicals for me.
Yep.
He shouldn't.
No.
He's my number 2 right now.
Me too. He's going to threaten number 1, but it's also number. I'm thinking about switching him and Quentin Johnson. I'll be very honest with you.
Yeah,
he might be my 1. We're teetering right there.
Yeah. It's that tight. And as you look at more film, like I won't put a grade or a rank on a guy until I've seen at least 3 films. But when I get to 6, sometimes maybe I get a little bit of a shift or something like that. So we'll see. But yes, I mean, if he's He's also a guy that I think the Chiefs might really like. The only problem is they have kind of a cluster of guys that are 6 foot something, 195, 200 pounds. Like there's a dynamic there that might be overload, but we'll see. I do think it's tackle or edge of the primaries. Cameron, do you guys open a Marcus Peters reunion? I am. Dave Tobe sure as hell ain't.
Absolutely not.
The assistant head coach will never go for that. I just guarantee you that. Is CH not being at the parade a media issue or an actual issue? There are guys that were on the practice squad all season that were at the parade. It's the only thing I can say.
Yeah, like you guys, we kind of talked about this last night. It's not a good look in terms of him being in Kansas City next year.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen, like I told you in October.
Now, the only thing is he's still under contract. Like, they can't really –
they can cut him. They absolutely can cut him.
Yeah, but what do they say? Like $400K? Like, at worst –
I don't know, man.
You bury him on the depth chart and he's emergency. I mean, I don't know. Michael, thank you for the support. Appreciate the super chat, buddy. Why has no one mentioned the Kadarius Toney's heads-up play when he returned the first punt that hit a Chiefs player in the back? Philly could have recovered that and definitely made a game out of reach. I didn't think that it actually hit him, but maybe I'm wrong. Either way, it was heads up, and you got to give him credit. And maybe we haven't mentioned it enough because the other return like so overshadowed every other special teams play. But that's a fair point, Michelle. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it saved them at least maybe 10, 15 yards of field position too, because it was about to keep rolling. At worst, I don't think it hit anybody either, but again, I haven't watched specifically, but it was going. He realized that it was going to keep going, so he takes it and he saves them 10, 15 yards of field position. So yeah, definitely, I agree with you.
And Michael and Michelle, sorry if I messed up the names there. I get going sometimes and I get half the word out. New Punk, thank you, buddy. Also, do you think the Chiefs will do a restructure if it means keeping the team together? Give or take a few people, it seems like most free agents want to say. I do agree with that. Like, Chris could demand $30 million a year, and there are teams in this league that would give it to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll do that with this team. Yes, he needs to get his money. He needs to get a raise. For Chris Jones, I think it's more about the guaranteed money than like the average per year. I think he's going to be okay with void years or stacked salary at the end of the contract that he's never going to see because he does. Chris Jones is as bombastic and fun as he is. That guy wants history. He wants to go down as one of the best ever, and I truly believe that, and I think that will make him stay.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see what the numbers end up looking like, but I think that the team and him want to work something out, and they'll get something figured out.
Yeah. Scott, what's the rest of February look like for RGR? Well, I'll be traveling to several nearby states for some volleyball and gymnastics meets. I will also be watching a ton of film in the truck while we travel. I'm not going to the combine this year. I'll probably hold off and do that next year, but it'll be a lot of draft prep. We're going to be all over the free agent thing too, because I think there could be sparks for the Chiefs.
Yeah, this month, we got 8 more days left of February, so there's not a whole lot left for us. It's ridiculous that February's already almost gone. Draft is just feels like every year it gets faster. We got ahead of the curve what we heard last year, and I still feel behind.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, it's just going, it's leaking out.
How much cap do they have with the new cap number? Unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Right now, they're minus 3.5.
But we know that's not real, right?
No, but that's the way it stacks right now. So, it's coming. 2024 looks decent. I think they're sitting at 112 of what is likely to be a $235 million cap. So that feels pretty good, but it's going to be another year where you got to make some things happen. I love the pod and the Chiefs content, but I disagree with y'all's take on MVS. Patrick missed at least 6 guaranteed touchdowns due to over and under throws. And that's fine. I won't necessarily disagree with you because Patrick was at fault for a number of those. But it comes back to the fact that the two of them aren't connected like we expect and like I think the team's going to demand.
Yeah, and I'm glad you have a different opinion. We don't want this just to be everyone going along with everything we say. We want to have different opinions, and I'm glad that you have a different one. But yeah, it comes down to what I think MVS as a player, and that's the only reason I say what I say about him. We'll see how the team feels, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. It doesn't necessarily matter what I think in terms of them keeping him or not.
Yeah. Scott, wait, what happened to pick 32? We have pick 31, the Kansas City Chiefs do, because the Miami Dolphins are dirty, rotten cheaters.
They are. Try to get Tom Brady before you're allowed to talk to him. Okay.
The Miami Dolphins were penalized for tampering with Tom Brady, and they were stripped of their first round pick. So there was only 31 selections in round one because they had theirs forfeited. So Chiefs get the 31st player. Dang Dolphins. Josh, thank you, buddy. How would you feel about bringing DJ Chark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For a small contract?
That's if MVS is not on the team anymore.
Right.
The caveat is that he can't be in Kansas City because they're two similar deep threat type players. DJ's better route running coming back to the football, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But we have two guys that bring the exact same skill set in terms of what the Chiefs have, and it doesn't make much sense to have both.
They overlap completely. Scott, who's who's one overhyped player in February that Veach is laughing at us all about? It might be Tyree Wilson because
maybe
he's a Spags kind of guy, and I don't know. He might be the guy that they go after at 21 or something like that because I just don't think he's a top 10 player.
I don't know, man. I don't really at this point I can't get a good grip on who they'll be laughing at us about.
Yeah, well, that's right. Laugh away. If they're laughing, it means they're watching, and I like that. So hype. Who's the best DI the Chiefs can be drafted by the Chiefs in this year's draft? DIs are interesting so far. There's a couple of really talented, super undersized 3-techs. Cansey being one, Adewale being another. I like Adewale better.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't.
I really do.
Oh, man.
Now, again, I've only watched, I think I have like 2 tapes of Cansey done. But he just gets beat up off the line. He gets moved too much for me. Like I can't trust him except on third down.
I get it. I heard this line that he lives in the backfield, and he really does. That works in the NFL.
Yeah,
it works. It translates. And when he's so fun, y'all.
When they run trap, he's going to get destroyed. I'm just saying because he's in the backfield so fast. Woo, you're gonna get your hole.
I'm not watching.
Don't hurt. But yeah, there's a couple of names, and I haven't dug through much of the DIs yet. That'll get to when I finish all the edges because there's 17,000 of them this year. Thoughts on going RB in round 3 if they feel like they can't bring back McKinnon or Rojo? Still too rich for me unless it's just some kind of like unearthly fall for Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is the perfect fit for this offense. Let's be real. Bijan's the best RB in my opinion, but Jahmyr's the best fit for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'd love it if he pulled a hamstring and everybody let him drop. Boy, hey, don't laugh because the year that Justin Houston got drafted, I said, I hope that something goes wrong in his offseason and he falls to the Chiefs in the 3rd, and bam, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I won't question your magic powers.
Roll a joint. I also made the mistake of saying that they're going to draft D Ford, and look what happened there. So sorry. So Austin, we'll see what happens with that one. Cool Cat, thank you for the support. No questions, just showing some appreciation for you guys. Fantastic job that you do constantly and consistently. Thank you. We appreciate that. We all have our ups and downs. That's for dang sure. But we appreciate you guys riding through us with some of that. And I really enjoy the fact everybody seemed to be like, hey, welcome to the Avery show last night. Yeah, thank you guys for being part of our lives. Yeah, exactly. And the pup too. The pup's fine.
Pup's nuts.
It's not a problem. Thank you, Cool Cat. Justin, what are the chances that Kelsey and a healthy Tony both have 1,200 yards receiving? I mean, man, that's the pipe dream. You got to hope for it. I think Burkholder and the Chiefs staff are going to make Tony more resilient. I don't think he'll miss as much time. I'm not sure he's ever going to be a 15 games a year guy. So that might be a bit of a challenge. I'd love to see it though. I think that requires a third legitimate target, whether that be Sky Moore or be JuJu or be a draft pick. It's got to be a 3-headed monster to work. What are the realistic chances the Chiefs have as good a draft as they did last year? It's 5%. Last year's was so good on top of the 21 draft. It's nearly impossible, right? Yeah. So if they get 4 guys to contribute, you're talking now about having a consistent half of your team being 3 years and under. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's just so unrealistic that you're going to get the same kind of hits. And the thing is, they're going to have to get those players elsewhere that aren't corner, because you have to do it at defensive line. Now you have to do it at offensive line. You have to do it at wide receiver.
I'll take Mark's, and thank you for it, Mark. When you think you'll start doing mock drafts? I plan on doing them fairly soon. I'm trying to get a feel for how everybody's mock machine is going to work this year. PFF has overhauled theirs. I'm experimenting with that. Yeah, TDN's is not out yet. PFN's is still the same one. They say they're going to make an adjustment. I don't know. So I'm kind of filtering that out first. But I will say this. I've done a couple for Locked On NFL Draft, which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen that lately, check out Damian and Keith. They took over the show for me. I'm going to do something different for Locked On here in the future. Can't announce what that is yet, but we're working on it. But I still make an appearance with them every now and then. I just went over Keith's mock draft last night.
Yes.
So go check out Locked On NFL Draft. And I'm going to do one over on NFL 33. I don't know if I can get it done this weekend because we're traveling again, the whole 9 yards. But I'll definitely have one. And then I think what I'd like to do, Dan, you tell me if you're good with this. I'd like to do one and have you rip it apart.
Okay.
And tell me what you do different. And maybe that'd be fun for everybody. You guys hit us in the chat. Would you like to see that format where we do one and then the other guy kills it?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Tom, still coming down from the Super Bowl. Good for you. And I am down with the running back. That's I'm going to use that all offseason. I'm just going to tell you. What are the top 3 positions of immediate concern and that we have to hit on at this point? Thank you, sir, and thank you for being here. Dan, give me, what are the top 3?
So they need a defensive end, a number 1. They need a number 1 because I like what Karlaftis is doing. He's a number 2 at best, in my opinion. We'll see if he develops, because sometimes you just see that come out of nowhere leap that he might have next year. You never know. So I think they need a 1. They got to get a tackle. I don't know if it's going to be right. If it's going to be left. They got to get a tackle. They got to get one right now. And you need a receiver. I think that they need somebody that can actually produce, because I like Sky Moore. I really do. I like the player that he was. If you guys go back to my board last year, he was like wide receiver 8. Okay. Those kind of receivers on day 2, they don't typically become studs. Okay. You can't count on MVS if he's going to be in Kansas City to be a stud. JuJu Smith-Schuster's best years are behind him. Kadarius Toney, for all we know, gets hurt and never plays again. Okay.
Shut up. I'm counting on that.
So I'm just saying, you need a wide receiver. I want Kadarius Toney to be as healthy as anything going forward, because he's a special talent to have.
Yeah.
But there are players you can't count on.
Yeah, you need a primetime star. Right now, Kadarius Toney is good, and they have to watch out for him. He's not taking coverage away from Travis Kelce. You need somebody up there that is that much of a threat.
Yeah,
I agree, and I think that's going to be something they got to get after. Tyler, thank you. How do you feel about a draft with Anton Harrison, Foskey, Perry, McIntosh, etc.? I mean, I can live with Anton Harrison. I think I have him at 5 right now. Do you have him higher than that, Dan?
I haven't gotten my tackles list yet, but I'm imagining he's somewhere around 5'4".
Let me double check that, because I just want to make sure I'm not talking trash here. I am. I have him at 4 actually right now.
Oh, there you go.
Although Jalen Duncan's on the rise. Watch out now, folks. I like both of them. Foskey's a day 2 guy for sure for me, because he's just not dynamic enough.
Yes.
He's another guy that Spags is really going to like, though, because he's all power. He's great motor. He's a character guy. He can lead. That definitely is in their radar. But again, that leaves you without a prime time, like attack the edge, get around it, and crush somebody guy. I like Perry and McIntosh. Those 2 guys would be on my list, and I would be very happy with this. Dan might want to go back to the well.
It's a good list. I don't necessarily know what Foss is going to do. He's a very unpredictable player, because Notre Dame was like, hey, we have this very unique player. Let's use him 20,000 different ways and make him not very good at any one of them. Okay. Right. Like, he's got a lot of different talents, but they misused him so badly. So I like Harrison. A.T. Perry. I'm hot and cold on A.T. Perry. Love McIntosh. But yeah, it's not bad. Just want to let everyone know we're going to try to get through the questions we have right now. So if you want a question guaranteed answered, Super Chat's the way to do it, because we're going to hit what we have from here on out. Maybe hit one on the door on the way out of the stream. Just letting you know.
Last call. You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Can't stay here. No, can't do it.
Okay. Julian is back. Nice to see you, buddy.
Hello,
Hope
Julian.
you're doing well. Thoughts on Kalijah Cansey? Pitt next to Jones and Devin. Is it A-Chain? Do you say it? I thought it was.
I say A-Kane. I don't know.
Okay. From TNM and Pacheco, and he's the kick returner. Okay, so you like A-Chain as the returner. I haven't watched. I don't watch special teams. Sorry, fellas. I just don't. I pay attention to who plays special team snaps, but I don't watch them. Cansey, I like. I just think he's way overrated for what he is. He is a pass rush only player for me at this point. And just like Siaki Ika, the people have in the first round, who's a 2-down player the other way, I can't spend a first-round draft pick on a 2-down player. I just can't do it. So for me, I like Cansey, and I love him rushing the passer, but he's at least a day 2 guy for me. And depending on how he performs and what he weighs in at, I need to see length, and I need to see 290. And I don't know if he's going to have either.
Yeah, I don't know. You can thank Mel Kiper for all this, by the way, because Cansey, who was going to be a day 2 guy, is almost assuredly going to be a day 1 guy if he tests well at the combine, which he's probably going to blow up the combine.
The footwork's going to be great. I think his broad is going to be awesome, but he might be sub 33. I don't know on the arm length. And that's, that starts to make me cringe. Do like a Kane from what I've seen, although I have not. Running back's the last position that I do. And we have somebody that's going to tell you a lot more about running backs than I know because I never played that position. I tried to crush them. So it's a little bit different mentality. Thank you, Julian. It's nice to see you back, dude. Check start 1, bench 1, cut 1, McDuffie, George K, or Bolton. Wow.
Guys.
Wow.
You're going to really make me seem like a hater with this.
In 2 years, they're going to be the best 3 players on this defense outside of L'Jarius Sneed.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to do this. I'll take the brunt of this, Ryan. You don't have to answer this question.
Make me the bad guy.
I'm going to start McDuffie. I'm going to bench Bolton. I'm going to cut George. I'm just saying it right now.
Okay.
If I have to.
We agree. You don't have to take that. If you make us do that, Toad, that's what we're going to do.
That's what you get.
I think they're going to get 2 years out of Chris Jones, and I think he's either going to be too expensive or he might retire at that point. Depends how he – D tackles of his caliber have a tendency to fall off the cliff, kind of like you saw with Aaron Donald, right?
Yeah.
So I think 2 years good. I think L'Jarius, I'm concerned about the contract getting done. I got to tell you. So I'm saying if those 2 guys aren't there, these are the 3 best players on the defense. So that's a tough one. And Toad, also, I love McDuffie as a player. He's a legit number 1. Yes, he is.
Yeah, he is.
And that's why I want 3 of them, including L'Jarius. And good, you put Brian Branch in this? Oh, that's sick, bro. Have you guys checked out Nathaniel Dell from Houston? Yeah, Tank. Lil Tank, I call him. Because, dude, everybody loved Calvin Austin last year at the Senior Bowl, too. Stuff just doesn't work out, bro.
He's better than Calvin Austin, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like,
I'm out.
I'll tell you, I know you're probably out. I like Tank Dell. The only thing that I would be worried about is the body type. That's it. He's as good a route runner, in my opinion, in this class as you have. He's an extremely nuanced player. Playing at Houston, he understands leverage. He can find soft spots in zones. He can take top off. He can break against man. He can do all that. He takes a hit over the middle of the field. I don't know what's going to happen to his body. I don't know. It might break in half. I'm not entirely sure.
I'll put it this way. His ceiling is Kadarius, who is a 2 or 3, not a 1.
Correct.
His floor is Dat, and he just can't play in this league.
Dat could play. I know that he had some good moments. Maybe I'm just jaded because I like that.
He had great moments when he was able to run out of bounds. If he had to take contact, it was bad.
Okay.
Sorry, Mark, but yeah, I mean, crafty player.
I like him, but no, you can't get him in the 3rd. He's going to go in the 2nd round, I think.
Yeah, you may be right. Jeldrick, 1 year deal for Juan or move on. I'll move one
on, I think.
To pay Snead. Oh, I'll move on to pay Snead. Yeah, agreed. Snead is the priority. I like Juan. Juan came back from the injury. It took him longer, but he did come back, and I think he improved as the season went on, but he still hasn't gotten to where he was as a rookie.
The play that keeps sticking in my head is the pass breakup against Quez Watkins.
Yeah.
on an island by himself in the middle of the field, and he's got a speed guy coming across his face, and he gets over there and he breaks up the pass. I want him back in Kansas City. We'll see. I don't think he's going to be hugely expensive because I don't know if he had an elite year. So we'll see.
I still think they need a safety, though. Even if Juan's back, I think you need another young safety to push both he and Reed. Do you guys foresee Kane Doe actually developing into a rotational player? He seems like a miss. Nah, it's over. I don't think he won't make the roster.
He's a practice squad dude.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I said it the night that he got drafted. Like, that was out of left field. And that's not a problem. These are in some of the best draft classes Veach has had. You got to take swings when you see a trait you think you can train a guy around. It just didn't happen. And it won't happen for all of them. For every L'Jarius Sneed, there's 4 Josh Kandos. It's just the way that it falls. Phil McManus. I think I said that right. McManus, sorry. Will KT return? Yeah, he's under contract.
I think he's under contract for the next 3 years.
Yeah, they traded for him. So they have his rookie contract to its fruition. And he was he a first?
He was a first-round
pick.
draft
They have a fifth-year option on him, too.
They have a fifth-year option, too. They have control over this guy.
They have 2 years under contract and an option for a third. JC, should Chiefs draft Jared Hall in the 7th?
I love this question because this is an emphatic yes for me. It's an emphatic yes. You love him? I love him.
Like, you love him?
I love Jared Hall because of what he could develop into under Patrick Mahomes. That's what I love. He's an athletic guy. He's not super athlete, and he's not got the arm strength that Mahomes has. But ball placement, all over his tape. I've watched a lot of BYU film right now. I've watched a lot of it. I've watched Puka. I've watched Freeman. I've watched a lot of these guys, and every game he makes an incredibly nice downfield accurate ball placement throw into a bucket where you can't get it. That kind of stuff I want to see as a backup to Patrick Mahomes. I just do.
Okay, I can get down with that. I was going to say, yes, as a 7th rounder, yes, all day long. Because every film I've seen, he's had at least 3 throws. It was like, where'd who go? Like, they're just not on the same page. So there is the up and the down. So, and by the way, I like Puka Nacua. Like, as a 3rd-round wide receiver, I could see him on this roster and do something to make it.
I comped him to like Khalil Shakir, just a little bit bigger. Like they're really good players. They do a lot of really good things. He's a bit bigger, a bit longer, but they get the job done.
And by the way, can I just say, Wilson, the Stanford receiver, was gonna be my sleeper of the year because I had him. I had him in September,
and then he blew up the Senior Bowl, and Ryan loses his mind.
I'm so angry. I'm so angry. But those 2 guys on the Pac-12 on the West Coast, they just don't get the same kind of leverage. By the way, his teammate Higgins might be the next Jody Fortson candidate to move over to tight end. Might be fun. Tyler, thank you for your super chat. What's your take on Mock? Super athletic, but extremely raw OT developer. We talked about this a little bit earlier. If you missed it, Dan thinks he can play all 5. I like him better as a guard. That's just my thoughts. But
I like him better for sure.
Good footwork, good anchor. Gets a little extended sometimes. I think that will come with time. I think he's going to be a good player in the league.
Yeah.
Thank you for this one. If you guys want some of the gear, check out the store. That always helps us. We're going to wrap it up with the last few super chats here. Thank you. Nick, thank you very much. If OBJ gets franchise tag, do you think that it'll be a repeat of last year or he'll be more committed this year?
I mean, if we're honest with ourselves about the player that Orlando Brown is and the personality that he's taken last offseason with, do you think winning a Super Bowl and playing as good as he did down the stretch, which is what he did the last season, is going to make that better? I'm just throwing it out there. You think he's not going to ask for top of the market value just because they won a Super Bowl?
And he wasn't exposed in the big game. He wasn't exposed in the big game. He handled his business. And you are so on dad duty right there. Do you think that's going to teach him a lesson? No.
He got some help. He got some help. I'll just say that.
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, he can say 0 sacks.
He can, and that's totally fine. And we're just gonna not pretend that guys weren't just slipping and sliding out there at left a defensive end for both sides. One just them, but they predicate on speed. Kudos
to Travis's brother, though, to say, hey, that's on you to manage your footwear.
It is. And I loved that detail about the podcast. He said he came out and he tested his feet. They were good. You have that many different cleats set up for it, then you don't have as many excuses. And that was a part of the breakdown that I don't think anybody really understood. They were talking about how the field is awful, but you do have the ability to change and wear plugs if you're having problems.
And it's Arizona. Everybody knows it's awful.
So
it's
not
different.
It was definitely something I didn't factor into. That was really, really cool to hear.
Yeah. I still don't understand how the same system works in Vegas but doesn't work in Phoenix. I don't get it, but I don't know. I'm sure if you're a groundskeeper and you know these things, would you please chime in and let me know? Daryl, when will the athletic matrix be ready? Usually it takes me a couple of weeks after the combine to sort everything out. I try not to put it out more than 3 or 4 times. I like 2 or 3 versions. One that's all combine data, and then one is the pro day start to come in. But if there's somebody significant who decides not to run and waits on their pro day, like JSN or something like that, I'll definitely give you an extra couple. So look for it mid-March, and we should be in good shape. And then that also feeds in. You don't get as much detail in the draft guide because it just takes up 1,000 pages if I do it that way. But you will get the ranks in the draft guide as well. That's why they're 2 separate documents now, and it just helps. Thanks for asking, though, Daryl. And for those of you who don't know, that's from Rogue Analytics at rogueapc.com. That's where all my advanced athleticism metrics come in, and they all tie into the draft guide that Dan produces with me and does all the hardcore work because it takes more time to do that work.
We'll have some help this year, though, so it'll be good.
Yes, knock on wood. We are going to expand our film grades, you guys. I know we just gave you what was top 10 last year, I think, in film grades we ranked.
Something like that.
We'll go a little bit beyond that. We're ahead of the curve this year. We're getting better. Tom, follow up to the previous question, based on those needs, what position do you think we will have the best shot at hitting that top 3 draftees you value most? Ooh, value. Man.
All right. I think the best value that the Chiefs are going to be able to find is at wide receiver, because the top end is not in previous years. There isn't that clear-cut guy. The name to watch for me is Kayshon Boutte. I think he's the most talented receiver in this entire class, but there is serious off-field and medical concerns. You don't really know. There is the rumor that he was going to be basically let go of LSU, and that's why he declared for the draft, because he was like, all right, I have got nowhere to go. So back to the draft it is. That needs to be, he is going to be put through hell in the combine interviews.
Yes.
Hell. And this will test him. If he does not do well, he might become almost undraftable. I'll just say that right now.
Who was the dude? Did he go to the Niners or the Commanders or the Redskins at the time that walked out on one of the
I don't
combine?
remember.
I can't remember. It's one of the linebackers, and I took him off my board for it. And that may be exactly what happens to Boutte if he doesn't watch himself.
Yeah.
That said, Josh Downs seems to be falling down boards, and I think he might be a nice value.
Okay, I'm going to amend everything that I've said about wide receiver in the first round. If Josh Downs is there at 31, you take him and you run away screaming.
Okay. You like him that much?
He's going to be my wide receiver 3.
Oh, is he really? Ooh.
I might get hate for this. I love him. I love him so much. And he gives you what Tank Dell does, but he's bigger. And he can go get the football downfield. He can go and get it. This is not I can kind of do it. No, he can do this. Double coverage. He did it against Notre Dame. Like, we're talking about actual defensive players. I watched Zay Flowers against Notre Dame. He didn't do anything. He did nothing. And a lot of that has to do with the snow. But still, earlier in the game when it wasn't snowing, it was like 3 different games, by the way. It was like not snowing, and then it was snowing, and then it wasn't snowing, and the sun came out. It was really weird. It was really, really weird.
Dude, the film changes by quarter. It's crazy.
It's so weird. But Josh Downs, yes. I'm very, very high on Josh Downs.
I will tell you guys this. You're going to hear this theme a number of times, I think. Downs, I didn't realize it was so stark. Quentin Johnson's going to get some heat from me and from a number of people when they realize just how up and down his production was. Games when he disappeared, and that's an issue. But nobody's talking about that yet. It will come out, I guarantee you. Top 3 draftees that you value the most. For me, it would be my number ones at each position. That would be Broderick Jones at tackle. It would be Jordan Addison at wide receiver for me. And it is still Will Anderson at edge. I don't think that's going to change.
No, I get it.
Okay. By the way, Travis is hosting SNL soon. Yeah, it should be interesting. SNL hasn't been good for years, in my opinion, so let's hope that it does something. But that's just me. And last question of the night, we'll wrap up with Miss Holly. And Miss Holly, thank you very much. Okay, if this is late, but I've heard buzz about Justin Ross being big for us next season. Is it just a rumor? Yes, it is absolutely just a rumor because ain't nobody know but Justin. As I understand, he is not cleared to be on the field yet, so he hasn't done anything.
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys right now. He's still not being cleared to play right now in February when he hasn't done anything since OTAs last year. Okay. Don't put your eggs in this basket. This is a lottery ticket that you find in a drawer somewhere from years ago. If you pull it out and it gets scratched and you win some money, woo! You celebrate.
Yes.
But you don't know about it. You don't know it's there.
Now, I saw a report from somebody that I actually do trust that he is running on his own.
Good.
But that doesn't mean he's cleared in any way. So that's not medical reinforcement. That's not, like check the list off. Now, I happen to live, you guys know, in Colorado where the Stephen Hawkins Clinic is, and I know some people that work there. And there's talk that there's been possibly some further communication about an injury that may still need some work. So we really just don't know. I'm literally 50-50 at this point. The Chiefs could say, by the way, we've already given him a 53-man slot. He's on the team. Or they could say, he's just never going to recover and we've parted ways with Justin Ross. I really just have no concept yet. So I think a lot of people want Justin Ross to have a big season next year.
I would love nothing more than for Justin Ross and Lucas Niang, both guys who have had injury concerns, to come out next year and play significant snaps for this team. I will not count on it. I will just say if it happens, hey, that's awesome. Guess what? You've got something right. Unfortunately, it's just nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, it'll be another thing where we go, Brett Veach strikes again, and he got gold for a shiny penny.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah. So let's hope. I would love to see John Ross too. I mean, speed is speed. But
yeah,
if the law firm of Ross and Ross works out, we're all dancing a jig. I'm telling you.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. But again, he's had time in the league already, and he hasn't worked out. So
yeah, absolutely, Holly. And again, that's just based on what I'm hearing. I don't have the medical charts in front of me, but you know that I follow that stuff pretty closely. So thank you for the question. And I don't mean to rain on parades. I just want to be real with everybody.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Sad to say, but I keep forgetting Niang is on the team. I mean, that's the thing, is like he also would be like a pot of gold that you forgot in the back of the closet. I mean, it would be great. But he did play a few snaps. You're right. And he did come in after the Wiley eligible play. And he got a speed rush from Hassan Reddick. He looked fine to me.
So now Niang is starting to become like you're starting to see something. Like you might have a little. This is the first part of that scratch off. Like we're talking about. You're like, oh, maybe we got something here. I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful. But again, I'm not gonna put any stock in it until we see OTAs and then training camp from Lucas Niang.
Fair enough. I like it. Let's see. In Holly's last comment, sorry I had to miss a portion of the second half due to the ridiculously long restaurant lines in stadium. Oh, I'm sorry. But I'm glad you got to see it, and I'm glad you had a good time. And thank you for being here with us and your support as forever, Holly.
Always.
We very much appreciate it. As for everyone else, all you new members, everybody that contributed tonight, thank you for your help. We try to keep this thing rolling. There's always change going on in RGR. You're going to see some of the stalwarts. We're going to be here. Seth's going to be here. Gary's going to be here. We're going to add some new flavors. We're going to add some new folks, some new opinion. We're going to do some new pieces. But it is all how the NFL rolls on every week, every day of every year. We will be here. So thank you for being here. Dan, thanks for your time away. I'm glad the boss gave you some time off tonight.
Yeah, she's hanging out in a room right now. I'm actually not having to do much. So
you're not even being supervised. How dare she? Wow. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. We'll have content for you this week. There's a lot of film to go over, some little nuances that I do want to show you. And I know Dan has some things coming as well. And then we're going to get heavy into the draft here right quick. So I'm glad you guys are ready for it. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you tomorrow.